Hey, what's up, everybody? So today is Monday, and the markets are still coming down. There's a lot of theories out there as to why that is. One of them being that Trump needs the stock market to come down so that interest rates will come down, so that um, it's we could refinance that debt before the debt ceiling. So there's a lot of theories out there as to why the market's coming down. But when you look at crypto, it's a little grain of sand compared to the stock market, right? So even though Litecoin could have a beautiful structure, it could still be destroyed by the sucking of the liquidity out of the higher forces of the market. But that being said, I still look at it. I'm still liking the way it looks. The reason why is because, this here was a flat, right? But I'm thinking that was not the count, right? So obviously we're too far down here for that to be valid, unless this is a 1 and this is a 2 and we're about to rip. And in that case, yeah, it works. But if that's not the case, then I'm still looking at this as 3. I'm looking at this as 3, and here's where it gets interesting. Instead of this being 3, like we had it before, I'm looking at it like this. That's 3 right there. So this is a flat right in here, right? So we have 3 down, we have 3 up, and then we have a big complex 3 back down. And it might not be finished. It could go even lower, maybe back testing these highs down here before reversing. Because ultimately what you have here is it's shaping up to be 1, 2, right? You can see how we're channeling up and now we're coming down. So there's 2 options. Either this is a 3-wave pullback and we're going to reverse, maybe here, maybe down there, maybe a little bit further, or this is a 1, this is a 2, and this is a 3, 4, and 5, which I don't think. I mean, it's possible. Like, look, if here's the problem, we're not in ordinary times, right? If this was an ordinary cycle in an ordinary market, it would be, easy to calculate. But since there's so many variables, for example, the Federal Reserve, the central banking system, right? Watch The Money Masters. It's a documentary. Please watch it. You'll understand exactly what the Fed is. I mean, you think you know, but you have no idea. This goes back to Jesus. I mean, this goes back millennia, man. This is insane how far back it goes, where these central bankers, how they work, right? And it's all about the interest rates. They basically have the power to print, right? So look at these quotes right here. Check this out. Tell me if this is true or not. So Trump understands this, right? The financial system has been turned over to the Federal Reserve Board. The board it administers the finance system by authority of a purely profiteering group. The system is private, right? Conducted for the sole purpose of obtaining the greatest possible profits, right? Through interest rates. Basically, I have $100. I put it in the bank. They take my money. They loan it out. And then the other person has to pay my money back plus interest. But where does the interest come from? It doesn't exist, right? Because that money isn't there. So it's a constant, you're basically feeding the monster, right? Basically, the monster says, hey, give me a cookie. And you give the monster a cookie. And then he goes, well, I need, since you took 2 cookies, I'm going to need 3 cookies. But I only have 2. Where do I get the third one from? I can't go home and make it, right? Because I'll go to prison, right? A private bank has the right to print, but we the people do not. So what does that mean? That means it needs to be handed over back to we the people, and that's exactly what Trump's going to do. That's the grand conspiracy, right? Is this being broadcast out there in the fake news? Hell no. Trump wouldn't even mention it. But I have a spidey sense of what Trump has been trying to do, right? Going back to 2017, I've been posting it on Facebook, before they took my Facebook down. I lost all my receipts, right? But I managed to screenshot some of my old receipts in regards to Trump versus the Fed, right? It's not Trump versus Obama or Trump versus Biden or Trump versus Kamala or Trump versus the deep state or Trump versus the establishment. It's Trump versus the Fed. That's what it's about. It has nothing to do with anything except the Federal Reserve, the central banking system, right? Don't believe me? Watch the Money Masters. Just go to YouTube. You're already on YouTube. Type in the Money Masters. Okay? It's almost, 30 years old. And crypto never existed back then. So when you think about that, there's actually a clip I wanted to show. But before I do that, listen to this. And this will all circle back to the price of crypto. We're going to talk about XRP. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. I'm going to tell you what I think. And we'll go from there. But essentially, when the Federal Reserve prints money and they charge interest, basically they have a monopoly over the money, right? Back in the day, before the Revolutionary War, when we had the colonists, right? Let's go here. The colonies would gladly have borne they talk weird back then, The colonies would gladly have borne the little tax on tea and other matters, had it not been that England took away from the colonies their money, which created unemployment and dissatisfaction. The inability of the colonists to get power to issue their own money permanently out of the hands of King George III and international bankers was the prime reason for the Revolutionary War. Think about, right there, I highlighted it. The inability of the colonists to get power to issue their own money permanently out of the hands of George III and the international bankers was the prime reason. That was the main reason for the Revolutionary War. People say, and that's the whole thing. History, when you go to school and you learn about history, they don't tell you the truth. They just tell you kind of what happened, but they don't tell you why it happened, right? We think, Britain was here because they wanted to basically, control the U.S., right? Or control America. Right. And the colonists were like, no, we want to be independent. We don't want you anymore. No. It had that had something to do with it. But what really was about money, right? It's all about money all of the time. What was the Civil War about? Money. What was the Revolutionary War about? Money. What was World War II about? And World War I about? Money. People say, oh, no, it's not money. It's power. It's power. Well, what do you think money is? That's power, right? So, George Washington in the Revolutionary War defeated the Brits because the colonists wanted to be independent. Yeah, that's true, and that's what we know. But we also wanted to be able to print our own money. Why? What was the whole deal? Because King George III wanted the colonies to use Britain's money so that the Bank of England would get the profit. That's what it was all about. Nobody talks about that, right? Go back to 8th grade. Did your 8th grade teacher teach you that? Hell no. They wouldn't. They don't know any. Money wasn't even a topic in the war, which really, that's what it was really all about, okay? Let's keep moving here. So, if the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, which we already have, first by inflation, then by deflation. Look at this, man. This was stated by Thomas Jefferson long time ago, and think about what's happening now, right? If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and the corporations which grow up around them will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on their continent their fathers conquer. Man, that's some deep stuff right there. That's some pretty deep stuff. Basically, what Thomas Jefferson was saying is, look, if we allow the Federal Reserve, which the Federal Reserve was not even a thought back then, but I'm just using it because that's our central bank. If the American people allow the Federal Reserve to control and issue, I'll translate it, right? I'm translating it. So if we have the Federal Reserve, if the American people ever allow the Federal Reserve to control or issue our money, what are you going to get? First, you're going to get inflation, right? And then you're going to get deflation. And then the banks and the corporations which grow up around them will deprive the people of all their property. How do they do it? How do they do it, though? People can't understand it because, look, I'll show you exactly how they do it right here. This is exactly how they do it through boom and bust cycles, right? First, you have loose monetary policy, and that pushes prices up, right? And that also brings the bond market kind of down, right? And then sometimes you have interest rates. It's a little bit of a gray area how it all works. I'm not really an expert in that field. But basically what they do is they write it up and then they take it down, right? So that's how the central banks, basically they'll lend you, let's say they lend out money and then you go buy a house, right? And then your house goes up in value, right? And then it crashes in value, but then you also lost your job because the market crashed. Well, guess what? Now the bank owns your house and the money you basically took out, to pay the loan. So because what does the bank want? The bank wants you to pay them interest. But what else do they want? They want hard assets. They want your property. They want your house. They want your land. They want your car. They want things, right? They want gold. They want crypto. They want things that they can, things that aren't associated with the dollar, right? Because that's how these central bankers make all their money, is through interest rates. And but the problem is, where do interest rates? Who controls the interest rates? The Fed, right? Well, why do they get to control it? Because they are independent from the current system, right? But for most people, even our founding fathers, that's not the way. That's treason. Basically, you're handing over the key, right? The power to print to a group that we don't even know. Do you know who owns the Fed? Do you know who's on the board of the Fed? No. Do you know what their history is? Do you know where they went to school? Do you know if they have a criminal record? Who are these people? You don't know, because does the fake news talk about it? No. These people are in the dark shadows of the government. You don't really know who they are, right? Yet they are controlling. They have more power than Trump. Okay? The Fed has more power than Trump at the end of the day. So that's pretty scary, right? And we didn't elect the Fed. The Fed is a bunch of bureaucrats, right? And the people who own the Fed, right? The Rothschilds, the central banking families, that's a whole nother issue. So this is all a scam, right? Our financial system is a scam. That's why Trump is here to fix it. All right. And you say, oh, that's a big conspiracy. How is he going to fix it? Well, that's been the plan from the very, very, very beginning. People would have never thought in a million years that we would have C-19 and a global shutdown, yet it happened. People never thought in a million years Trump would win against Hillary, yet it happened. And then people never thought in a million years he would come back, yet it happened. So, and many other things, right? I mean, he missed a bullet by literally a centimeter, a half a centimeter. So, I mean, come on. You can't make it up. So at the end of the day, the rich will strive to establish their dominion and enslave the rest. They always did. They always will. They will have the same effect here as elsewhere. If we do not, by the power of the government, keep them in their proper spheres. So here's a theory here, right? The U.S. government has to refinance $7 trillion in debt in the next 6 months. There's no way Trump wants to refinance at current 10-year yields. This is why he wants the stock market to crash, to pump the bond prices. As bonds go up, yields will come down. See, they don't teach you this stuff in school. And the fake news doesn't talk about it, and Trump will definitely not talk about it. Right? No, the politicians won't even explain that. They don't like talking about this type of stuff because this is what people care about, right? Which is the whole money system. This is why everybody is suffering, because the system has been stealing away, right? You think about, you know who really has it rough? All the senior citizens, right? If you're a senior citizen listening to my video, I highly appreciate you. Thank you so much. And you've lived a life, and let me tell you, nobody has it worse than you guys, because at the end of the day, you know, how long have you worked? You worked your whole life, right? And how many paychecks have you earned? Many, 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 many paychecks. And how much taxes have you paid? A lot of taxes. And where do those taxes go? To a government who basically doesn't know how to use it, right? But where else does it go? It goes right back to the bank, right? Because why do we have taxes in the first place? Taxes don't pay the government. Taxes pay the banks. Why? Because the banks are the issuers and the government is the borrower. And the borrower is subservient to the lender, meaning the government, the bank is, or I should say, the government is the bank's little beep, B word, right? So, anyways, as bond prices will go up, yields will come down, and the U.S. government will be able to refinance their debt at a cheap rate. Not only that, lower bond yields will also push the Fed to do rate cuts. Right? That's what Trump. That's what Trump wants, is a rate cut. Right? Because you want to refinance. So if I have a house and my interest rate is 4%, and then, I'm stuck with it, right? But if the rates come down, I can refinance the debt that I have on my house at a lower rate, right? So that's what he wants to do. So we need the interest rates to come down, right? So once interest rates come down, we should see, so basically we're going to have the stock market come down, bonds go up, right? And then interest rates will start to come down. And then once they're down, you refinance the debt, then the stock market goes back up. So it's tricky. So as bond prices will go up, yields come down, and the U.S. government will be able to refinance their debt at a cheap rate. Not only that, lower bond yields will also push the Fed to do rate cuts, which is bullish for risk on assets like crypto. So that's a theory, right? So there you go. And we are still coming down pretty aggressively. We're coming down very aggressively. So ADA still is really in a good spot. XRP is in a little bit worse of a spot. I mean, we're right here. We're right at the edge here. So if this breaks down, then, it's going to take a long time to fix it. And maybe that was the whole idea, right? Because this is not about your portfolio. This is not about my portfolio. This is not about me and you getting rich, right? This is about something much bigger than that, which is Trump and the Patriots defeating this central banking system. But in order to do so, there's a few things that need to happen. Now, listen to this. I'm going to show you. Listen to this.
Politicians, the private Western Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, you can see they have already started the narrative where the recession is approaching very, very quickly. And I do believe as we go down this path, we're going to see that more and more of the fake news, they're going to be talking about recession, they're going to be talking about inflation, and you can see that they're building up the narrative to blame it all on Trump. Now, Trump, he's going to have the counter narrative, which he's going to be...
Exactly. They're trying to, because that's what they want. They want to blame Trump, right? But I think they're playing their hands too early. Trump just got into office. I mean, he's literally only been president not even 3 months, right? There's not enough time. We've been in a recession since Biden. If you look at Warren Buffett, if you look at those guys, they've been selling their stocks, right? They've been offloading because they know what's going on. So essentially, let's keep listening here.
Countering everything that they're trying to do. And really think about it. Trump, he wants a continuing resolution bill to bring us to September because what does he want to do? He wants to put everything into place, and he's going to need to use the old system to do that. And the way the old system works is you need to raise the debt ceiling. You need to put everything into place so you can say, okay, you know what? I want to cut taxes, even though that adds to the debt. He needs to use the system the way it's set up, and he needs to use it against the central bank system. And this is why he needs the continuing resolution bill that, as of right now, Johnson is proposing. So because he needs to put everything into place. Now, of course, it's not going to look fantastic. It's not going to look incredible yet, but you have to remember something that's very, very important here. He's playing within the private West central bank illusionary economy. They set it up because they don't want to cut taxes. They don't want people to do well. They don't want any of this. But again, he's going to have to use this to usher in the new system. But you can see there are certain individuals.
Exactly.
You can see they are now selling off their stocks in the stock market. Now, once again, of course, they could be saying that, you know what, he's implementing tariffs, he's implementing his policies, the economy's going to crash, which I do believe it's going to come down quite a bit. But again, it's not going to be because of Trump. We're already in recession. They're already starting the recession narrative. But I do believe what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to blame everything on him. But when you look at Jamie Dimon and you look at Warren Buffett, you can see exactly what they're planning to do. And you can see that they understand that the system, we're already in a recession because these two individuals, they've been selling off stock for quite a while. And they know that we've been in a recession for quite a while. And with Trump moving forward with his plan, you know that they know that things are going to get very, very bumpy. And this should tell you everything you need to know. The Gobisi letter on X put this out and said, this is absolutely insane. On February 20th, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon sold $234 million worth of JPM stock. On February 22nd, Warren Buffett announced their record for $334 billion cash balance. 12 days later, the NASDAQ 100 crashed down 11%. How did they know? Amid all the headline and market noise, Jamie Dimon made a large sale on February 20th. He sold, has been saying they are now reporting that Trump's economic gamble will force the Fed's hand. And the Federal Reserve Chairman issued a devastating 8-word warning to Donald Trump. The chair of the Federal Reserve has admitted that Trump's tariffs are only going to increase inflation.
So anyways, yeah, there's a lot going on. So this has me wondering, well, maybe, because I thought maybe towards the summer. So it really comes down to two ideas, right? The first idea here is that Trump, let's see, let's get that up to the 8-day chart. The first idea here is that we get one more wave up and then a massive collapse, stock market crash, transition, all that stuff. Or that we start to crash now and we have a big liquidation. Maybe we come back down here and it's just turmoil, right? And maybe even taking these lows out, right? Because if we have a massive collapse, like it has to be a big event. It has to shake the world to its core. People are in fear now, but people have to get hit super hard. This is the only way you can transition out of the current system into a new system. You have to have enough pain in the market for people to scream and demand change. But nobody's demanding it. Nobody's saying, hey, get rid of the Fed, put crypto in. Nobody's saying that, right? But you start crashing people's retirements and pension funds and stock market and crypto and destroying the economy with recession, then people are going to come out and scream. And that's when the pivot is going to happen, right? So that's the alternative idea. And what Trump is trying to do right now is, like the thread said, he wants the stock market to come down, right? So that, and also that would in turn crash crypto, to pump the bond prices. As bond prices go up, then yields will come down. Then he'll be able to refinance the debt. So is that what he's trying to do? Because there's talks about a government shutdown. There's a lot of worry out there. There's a lot of concern. On one hand, we have the golden age. We have the Trump transition. We have the strategic reserve. We have regulations coming. There's a lot of things to be bullish about. But none of that matters if you have a house of cards, right? Basically, the structure of itself is breaking down around you. right? So, if I have a house and I have a bunch of, old technology, VCR tech, old stuff, and I'm going to transition my house to new, flat screen TVs, new this, new computers, a smart home, right? Hey, Alexa, turn on my lights. And I have a whole smart home, right? Versus the old, analog technology, right? If I'm going to transition from the old stuff to the new stuff, great. But how can I do that if my house is on fire, right? How could crypto go up if the house is on fire, right? The house has to burn to the ground and then we have to rebuild. So I'm not saying that's going to happen with the price, right? There's a blockchain backer put out a video. Definitely go check it out. He told you his deal, right? And I'd have to agree on some extent. I think I'm a little bit more bearish than he is at the moment. Um, so it's got to prove we got to hold here. We got to hold here. So this wave here is going to end, and once it ends, we need to see the reaction. Do we get a three-wave move? That's going to be bad. Do we consolidate sideways? That'll be better. Or do we have like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a three-way pullback? That will be the best, right? Maybe a little bit of a base down here, right? So what happens after the wave? That's going to tell us a lot, right? Because there's a fractal. Look at this fractal. There's a really good fractal here, right? I mean, it's okay. It's not the best, but you got your ABC right there. This is a flat. This is just a regular ABC, right? And then you got your three waves up, right? And then you can see here's where it kind of changes. You have three waves down, but here you have five waves down, right? And then here's the issue with blockchain backers fractal. The problem is this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we had 3 up, we had 3 down, and then we had 5 up. This is 5 down and 3 up. That's exactly what we don't want. So, but I like the way this came down. We had a little bit of a three-wave move there, right? Same thing here. So we had this little boom, double bottom here. Boom, double bottom, come up, hit the high, three-way pullback, come up, hit the high, three-way pullback. So if we don't start chilling out and going back up within the next very short period of time, then that's going to be very concerning of more downside. Mitch Liu, CZ Binance have a good point here. In crypto, too many people, too much money is spent chasing small, quick gains. Focus on ethical teams that build for the long term, like Theta, okay, and XRP, Ripple. Big money is built slowly with stamina. And Mitch says truth, right? So there you go. Here's another fractal from ADA. You can see how we were kind of, come on, there we go. We were kind of bouncing up here, we came up here, and then we were doing this same kind of behavior, but then it ended up going up and making one more high. So maybe we get that. So here's the the biggest thing. Do we get one more high, or is it over now? And then we have to build slowly later. That's the big question. So if we do break down, it's just really hard to understand what it was going to do because let's look at the stock market here. You can see Ethereum is breaking down. This wave is almost finished, right? You can see, like when we look at Ethereum, the wave, we have 1, 2, right? I don't know if all of this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. It looks a little bit small. right? Because what we're looking for is 5 waves, okay? And we're dumping very aggressively right now. So, I mean, we're below 2,000. So, if we take the trend-based fib extension here and we come up, let's see where we are. So we already crossed down the 1-to-1. So the next one would be 1.414, but I highly doubt that. At least, especially right now, I don't think we're just going to go straight down there, unless we have a cascading liquidation, right? So it's either this is going to be 3-wave pullback and then a retrace. That's what I'm expecting, right? This is a 3-wave pullback and we're going to get a retracement. So does that retrace go up in 3? Does it go up in 5? How does it look, right? Or this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it can't be that because we only have 3 waves. Look, if I flip it upside down, you can see here. Let's see. Yeah, see that took the low here, or took the high rather. So it cannot be a 1, 2. It can't. This cannot be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It just can't. So if it's going to be a 1, 2, then this has to be wave 1. And then eventually we'll get wave 2 and then 3, 4, 5. So we're going to get a bounce. We're going to get relief. We're going to get something, right? I don't know if it's going to happen this week or next week. I think it should happen this week or next week. We should bottom for the short term, right? Maybe for a wave 4, right? Maybe this is a 1, 2. See, I don't know if that's a third wave though. Let's see, 12-hour chart. Yeah, I don't like the structure. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. We're in that 5th wave. I believe we're in that 5th wave. I don't know when it's gonna exactly finish, but we're gonna get a big bounce. Trust me on that. We're gonna get a big bounce. It always happens. Every single time we get these big dumps, these big crashes, the world is falling, crypto's dead, right? It's going to happen. So let's go to another chart here. Let's go to Bitcoin. But I thought I wanted to show something. Yeah, the stock market. We'll check the stock market out in a minute. How do you guys feel in the comment section? Do you guys think we got more further down to go? Because I'm a little bit, I'm kind of like, anytime I'm not sure, that means the market is not finished yet. Okay, the move is not done. So this is probably going to break down. It just doesn't look like it's going to hold. It already took the low. Guys. So either, like I said before, this is, look at that. We got 3 waves up and we get 3 waves down. Do we get another 3 waves up, making it a bigger 3-wave move before going back down, or maybe going back and breaking, getting that 5 waves up and coming from a higher spot? I don't know. I mean, if it's going to do it, it's got to do it now. Look, we have 5 waves. Let me zoom in a little bit more. You can see right here, we have 1, 2, right? All of that's 3. This is 4 and this is 5. Unless this is 1, 2, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of that's 3. Then we get a 4. Then we get 5. Those are the 2 options. I don't know which ones are going to be, but those are the 2 options. You know that the divergences have not been playing out. So we have divergence here, right? So they haven't been playing out yet, but but we want to look for divergences on the higher time frames. So, okay, so here, look at this. So on the 8-hour chart is a good time frame. If this comes down and breaks down, like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5, and then we get divergence on the 8-hour chart, that's going to be pretty good. We're going to get a bounce. All right, we're going to get a big bounce, I think. So the big question is, do we have to come down? The only thing that's really concerning me is what Trump has planned, right? What is his plan, right? How, are we going to have a big stock market crash? If we have a big stock market crash, there's nothing crypto can do. It's going to take a hit because it's a risk asset. It's not because crypto is bad. It's not because crypto doesn't work. It's because it's all about money, right? People, if I lose $1 million in the stock market, then I have to cover those losses with other assets. So that means I would have to sell crypto. Even though I don't want to, I would have to sell it in order to cover the loss, right? So we don't know if, a cascading event could happen. But here's what I do know. I believe if we do come back down, we're going to hold somewhere in these lines right in here. So let's put that right there. I'm thinking between, I definitely don't want to see it go below 60K. It's got to stay above 65K, right? So that's where I'm thinking. Somewhere in that level, right? This is the level that I think we're going to, and I think we're going to bounce pretty aggressively off of, right? So between 64 and 74K. So there you go. Between 64 and 74, we'll see how it plays out. Now, it could be finished, right? We've gotten all of this right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Is it finished? Or do we get a 3-way pullback and then one more push up for a 7? Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. Right? Otherwise known as a 7-wave crashing structure, but so we'll see. There's no other asset I would rather hold than XRP because XRP is basically did this, right? A rise, crash, retrace. We went into reaccumulation. We went sideways, and we're basically right in here trying to work itself out. But if we have the Trump plan for a great transition that involves a big stock market crash, refinancing the debt, it could be very bumpy. It could be very rocky. It could be very volatile, right? So, it doesn't matter what, it's just a shame that if that was going to happen, look at what XRP has done, right? XRP has printed over the last 7 years a magnificent structure, the best structure ever, right? Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways. And we're right at the cusp of going into price discovery. And then all of a sudden, right when we're at the finish line, we're right at the finish line, right there. And then all of a sudden, boom! Now we have to go through all of this stock market crash, economic transition, refinancing the debt crap. I mean, come on, seriously? So even though the chart, that would be 7 years, all of that for nothing, I just don't believe it, right? So there's a couple ways that this could happen. Number one, this is a bigger flat. We got to come way down here, right? So I don't think we're going to come all the way back down here. The reason why is because we have a lot of support. This is the good thing about going sideways is we have a lot of support that we built up over the years, right? We got one at 90 cents. We got some at $1 here. We got a lot more at $1.30. Right? And then you have up here at $1.67. And then, of course, the infamous one at like 66 cents. So Yeah, whatever we do, we can't break that low. And I just don't even think we're going to go that low. I think that we should have one more high, right? We should get this should flag out, and we should get one more high and then the big crash. But if we get the big crash now in the stock market and everything else, and we come down here, then it's actually going to be it's actually going to set up for something interesting, something I've never seen before, which is maybe a 1-2-1-2. So we have, right? So you could count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then we're starting to go down, and then we come back up, and then we come back down in a big ABC, and then we go up right there. So let's look a little bit closer on that. Let's see. So yeah, so if this is a diag 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, and then we have a 3-wave pullback, and then we hit the 702 retrace, and this is a 1, this is a 2, and then let's go 3, 4, and 5. Then we have a 5, 3, 5, and that's an A, B, C, right? So what would that be? Well, I can easily do this. You take a line and you go all the way down here, right? And then we take that line and we put it right at the top there. And what does that get us? That gives us to $1.54. So I think that's where we're going, man. Unfortunately, if we break this, I think we're going to $1.54. If we have to stay above $2. If we break below $2, we're going to $1.50. All right? So I know it sucks, but it's all about capital preservation. You got to preserve your capital, and so that you can ride the next wave up. And some of the assets I got beat up a little bit, but that it comes with the game. So yeah, if we can get, see this here, I was gonna say if this was 5 and then we had a 3 and then another 5 down, you could say, yeah, it's finished, or we're gonna get a 4 and a 5 and then finish. But to me, right, obviously we took the top, and then the big question is this 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? It doesn't look like it. It just doesn't look like that's 5. I mean, it could be. I just don't really know, right? It looks more like 1, 2, and 3, right? That's what we want. We don't want 5. We want 3, because if this wave is 5 and if this wave is 3, that means we can get 5, 3, 5. And that would be horrible. That would be a 5-wave move to the downside, right? So that would be 1, 2, and then we would get 3, 4, and 5. But if this is 3, then we should only get 1, 2, and then 3, and maybe land somewhere around $1.50 or so, and then go up and hit that high. Because I never really understood how, is this a 1, 2, 1, 2? If so, how do you measure the time, the length, right? Because this is a 5-wave move, right? 5-wave move, 3-wave pullback. We nailed that perfectly, right? And that was a small 2. And then you had this wave, and then you had a really long 2. So this was a pretty long wave in here, right? So I'm just going to measure it from here all the way to where we broke out. That's like 100 days or so. All right. So if I start that here and I go out, we're almost there. We're almost to 100 days, right? So what is it exactly here? Let me see. Yeah, 99 days. I got 99 problems, but crypto ain't one. up to 108 days. So we'll just say 100 days, right? It took 100 days. And from here, we're almost to 100 days. So 100 days is going to put you this Thursday. So maybe this week we should bottom because that will be equal in time. Now, if we topped up here, and if this was a 5-wave move, and we topped here, and then we go out 100 days, that's going to take us to the end of April. But by that time, we're already in summer months, and it's going to be pretty horrific by then anyway. So I'm really hoping we can get one more wave to the upside. Now, the problem is though, even if we did get one more wave up for XRP, the rest of the market is just not there, right? It's going to take a lot longer for the rest of the market to get that additional wave up. I mean, woo, look at Theta. It is coming down hard, guys. Woo. So I don't see, even if XRP did go up for one more high, I don't see Theta doing that. What I see here is something that's going to take a lot longer in time. Now, if this gets really nasty, then we could see something very horrific for Theta here. And let's take a look here, right? Because risk assets are going to be killed, right? So the worst thing that we could see here is we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's an A, right? And then we came up in a B wave here. That was a flat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we had A, B, C, right? That's a B, right? We called that perfectly. And now this is a 1, 2. And now we're going down for 3, 4, and 5, guys. This could be very horrific. We could come all the way down. This is the ultimate bearish scenario. 16 cents. Okay. Up to 30. Between 15 and 30 cents, man, that's sad. So between that area. And what we would have, guys, is an A, a B, and a C. All right. So we have 5 waves up. Big wave 1. And then we would come down in a wave 2. And then we would go up for a big wave 3, 4, and 5. So there you go. That's the ultimate bearish. The other idea is, right, because this was never 3. I mean, this was never 5. We only had 3 up, right? So if we could get 3 down, we get 3 down, and we come back down to support here, then maybe we can get a big 5-wave move, and that becomes a bigger 3-wave move, right? And then from there, we can come down in a big C wave or go into reaccumulation, then go up. So I'm not sure. So it's going to be one of those 3 ideas, right? So idea number 1, big ABC, back down to 30-cent theta. Idea number 2, 3 up, 3 down, and then we get either 3 up or 5 up, and it becomes a more complex, a bigger 3-wave move up, getting back up here, and then, yeah, so it's really 2 ideas, right? It's really just 2 ideas. Okay, or, yeah, and 2 ideas, and then from there, we can go into reaccumulation, then break out, or flag out, then break out, or come back here and then break out. But that's going to happen at the retrace level, so we're not going to even discuss that because we're nowhere near that. But this thing is rocking down hard. Guys, we've just broken below our second wave here. So it can no longer be a 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So this cannot be a 1, 2, 1, 2. No more, right? So the 1, 2, 1, 2 is totally off the cart. Yeah, this thing is rocking hard.